He has said on national TV that he does not know whether or not he has to follow the Constitution. Over the past year, he has repeatedly demonstrated a disregard for the Constitution and the rule of law at large. His unlawful actions this past year have been intended to demoralize, confuse, and exhaust. The majority in Congress, who is intimidated and has tolerated his unlawful actions even when they run counter to the laws and appropriations that they have put in place. Today I'm joined by the hardworking attorneys of my office to say we are not demoralized and we're certainly not exhausted. We are standing our ground to defend the rights of the people of Illinois and the rule of law. And we're winning in the courts. Since January 20th, 2025, we have filed 51 lawsuits and more than 100 amicus briefs that have successfully addressed a range of issues that impact Illinois residents. Unlawful Customs and Border Patrol and ICE tactics, unlawful National Guard deployment, unlawful attempts to eliminate birthright citizenship, unlawful attacks on gender-affirming care, unlawful defunding of life-saving medical research programs, unlawfully rolling back critical environmental regulations, and the unlawful dismantling of our federal government. As a result of our actions in court, my office has protected over $6.6 billion in funding for the state of Illinois. This money funds critical programs and services that Illinois families rely on. And all of this work has been, again, personal for me and the courageous and hardworking unsung heroes behind me. Just one day after the inauguration, together with my fellow attorneys general, we filed our first lawsuit during the administration to protect birthright citizenship. As a proud son of Haitian immigrants, born at the time that my mother was not yet naturalized, I am a birthright citizen. So our first action could not have been more personal for me. As a survivor of the cancer that took my father and both my grandfathers, protecting funding for cancer research could not be more personal for me. I am proud that as a result of my office's actions, members of our nation's military were not deployed to occupy my home city where I've lived my entire life. This fight was personal. No American should live under threat of military occupation simply because the leaders of their city or state have fallen out of the president's favor. We fought this case all the way to the United States Supreme Court, and a 6-3 majority, which included Trump appointees, sided with us. Now we're asking the courts to stop Customs and Border Protection and Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents from continuing to incite violence and chaos as part of the administration's effort to punish and coerce Illinois residents into adopting and enforcing their immigration policies. Our communities have faced mass agents with semi-automatic rifles who have created war zones by using tear gas, chemical weapons, and pepper balls against our law-abiding neighbors, including local police officers and journalists. We faced it here, we witnessed it in Los Angeles and Portland, and now we watch the horror unfolding in Minnesota. All as CPB and ICE leadership have threatened to return to Chicago with an even greater force. When I became Attorney General, I swore an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution and the rule of law, and I will not be deterred or intimidated. even if it means defending the rule of law from attacks by our own federal government. None of this work is possible with the incredible attorneys standing behind me. This work is deeply personal to them, which is why they work around the clock, through weekends, even foregoing sleep, to protect and defend your civil rights. On behalf of the people of the state of Illinois, I want to thank them for their dedication and their courage. Their commitment inspires me each and every day. I also want to thank members of the public at large who have stepped up to report their experiences or what they may have witnessed. It is important to note that our lawsuit against CBP and ICE is bolstered by evidence provided by people in the public at large who have suffered or witnessed these atrocities. In the coming days and weeks, our social media platforms will highlight the work and the talented lawyers in my office doing it. We are not giving up. I urge you not to give up. Stay attentive. Continue to stand up for our most vulnerable residents, for each other, and for what is right and just. It's been 365 days, but together we remain resolute and clear-eyed and ready to continue our fight. With that, I want to yield to any questions you may have. Chairman.
Hey, talk about what kind of strain has this year had on your staff? I mean, because with the number of staff you have in these legal fights, and has your staff reached a breaking point? Like when we see the next budget unveiled, are you going to need more money or more attorneys? Since we're only in year one of the Trump administration, so what does that look like going forward?
I couldn't have asked for a better question. Prior to all of this chaos, there was a lot of pressure on my staff to do the work that generally across the board that my office does. When I came in 2019, our office, the National Association of Attorneys General, did a survey, and our office had the worst attrition rate in the country. And so I've been unapologetic about going to the General Assembly and asking for appropriate funding for us to do catch-up work. And the legislature has responded within their means. But even if we didn't have this type of administration, I would be appealing to the General Assembly to do more so we can serve the public in all of the areas, criminal enforcement, consumer protection, across the board for the work we do. So the strain has been a real one. It's been it has required more than what we would call reasonable hours from these people behind me. There's been an emotional strain. Can't deny that. So yes, we have added to our staff, and in some ways the attrition from the federal government has benefited. We have several staff members behind me who are former staff from the different parts of the federal government. So that has been a benefit to us.
Mr. Attorney General, the OEIG has, over the last couple of fiscal years, found tens of millions in overpayments involving different programs, welfare, child. So, what is your office doing to try to hold bad actors accountable? In some cases, the OEIG found fraud. So, what is your office doing to try to hold people accountable?
Prosecute them, and we work with the OEIG. We work with Inspector General from the federal government, HHS, and so when a case is referred to us, and we have the capacity to prosecute it, we prosecute. Some of the cases may go to the federal government for prosecution or other prosecutorial agencies, but prosecute them.
Just getting back to the budget question, your office asked for additional resources last year. I mean, can you just involve our attorney? How much did that help in kind of keeping up with the wave of legal action that's necessary? Is that like a drop in the bucket, or I mean, was that a significant boost?
Yeah. I'm going to be careful about how I answer this question as the General Assembly starts its work for this year. We experienced a $15 million increase in the budget from the prior fiscal year from the state's general revenue fund. Our office is duly funded from what's called other state funds, which are much of that is proceeds from litigation that we may engage in. When I started my tenure as Attorney General, we were about 67% funded by other state funds and about 33 or 34% funded by the state's general revenue fund. While we had an increase in the funds available through the state's general revenue fund by about $15 million, we had a decrease in funds available from other state funds. I think we experienced about an increase overall of about $200,000. So while it appeared that there was a significant increase to our budget, we were pretty much flat. And, you know, as we should do year to year, we looked for efficiencies in our office in order to be able to do some of the work that we've been forced into doing on top of the work that we traditionally do for the office. And the people you see behind me represent people from different divisions of the office. And so it takes a lot of collaboration within the office, as well as I can't say that I'm the only Attorney General's office that is strained by this. So important to doing this work is the collaboration between 23 Attorney General's office. I was just in Richmond on this weekend, so it's 24 team members that are committed to doing this work. And I should be clear, there's other work that we do that is bipartisan work on consumer protection, antitrust, and other issues where we collaborate regularly with offices across the board. So traditionally, our work is collaborative work. I don't want you to think that everything we do is just isolated within our office. Over the course of the past year, there's daily communication between our staffs, the staff of my office as well as the staff of these other offices, and there's communication amongst the AGs themselves, about 3 times a week on these issues. And that collaboration has been critical to being able to handle the load.
Also, ultimately, the work that you do, the buck stops with the U.S. Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm.
6-3 conservative majority. I guess just based on your reading now, I know one could probably do a Google search and find the score. All this stuff is so hard to keep track. Well, you said there's more than 50 lawsuits. But based on what they decided on now, cases you've been involved in, against the Trump administration, I mean, are you, there have been some wins. I mean, like the National Guard thing, for example. I mean, going forward, like, do you have any kind of, are you still optimistic, skeptic? Are you skeptic of how they're going to, decide on cases that you're involved in still, even though they still kind of benefit you?
No, that's a good question. It's important to note that not all cases go to the Supreme Court. It's important to note that some of the cases that we have filed has led to the government themselves changing their tune on the issue that they've done whatever they've done unlawfully. Some of our cases may proceed slowly as they move up. The federal government has been selective as to what specifically they may appeal up. The birthright citizenship case is a good example of that, where it was a notion of a universal injunction that was brought up to the court, not the merits of the notion of birthright citizenship. Do I remain hopeful, optimistic? Absolutely, and I think the National Guard case is an example of why to remain optimistic. Not only because the federal government's request for the stay was denied, and we're still negotiating the total resolution of that case in district court right now, working towards hopefully an agreed resolution. But I think Justice Kavanaugh's concurring opinion gave reason to have hope, and in a footnote in the concurring in the National Guard case, he took time to sort of reverse course on something that he had said before with regards to immigration stops based on, what you look like or what language you speak and so forth. Many people don't even take time to read the footnotes, but that by itself is good reason to remain hopeful that in our other matters we will prevail, even at the High Court. Let's go over here, and I'll come back to you. So. Well, I mean, we've had instances where, in some of the funding cases early on, where there was a little of that, and we've had to go back in for enforcement. So, thus far, the sort of constitutional crisis that people were fearing last spring doesn't exist to the level that some may have interpreted based on the rhetoric, the really inappropriate rhetoric coming from our president and other members of the administration. Wants judges, even judges that he appointed himself, have a ruling adverse to him. You never have, or you never will hear from me denigrating the court or a particular judge because they've ruled inconsistent with how I may have requested. I may be disappointed. I may disagree, and believe me, that has happened. But we have to maintain a certain decorum that recognizes our separation of powers and respect for the judicial system and justice at large.
Well, thanks. Another question on state taxpayer dollars. There's an allegation that District 214 used tax dollars to conduct political-style polling, ostensibly looking for a property tax. Is that something you're investigating, and if so, what?
I'm not informed on that. It should be clear that in Illinois' landscape of criminal enforcement, we are not the primary prosecutor's office. There are some attorneys general offices in other attorney general's offices in other states where they are both the statewide prosecutor and the local prosecutor. The majority of criminal cases in the state of Illinois, and the structure of our criminal justice system, are prosecuted by local prosecutors. So I don't even know where District 214 is, whether it's in Cook County or another county. So I hope you ask the same question to the local prosecutor wherever District 214 is.
Attorney General, I want to ask you about county utility cases, just to get your reaction to People's Gas and NICOR requesting 2 more large rate hikes within a year being granted previous rate hikes. Have you reviewed those rate cases yet?
Well, I have staff that have, I'll confess to you that I have not personally. I have a public utilities team that have both the bandwidth as well as the history of working on behalf of ratepayers very effectively, who do that, and they will report to me when they get to certain points of rate paying, either negotiations or litigation before the ICC. But I will say that they've been zealous and effective for ratepayers during my tenure.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks so much.
Thank you.